President Trump under fire for the flexibility and inconsistency in what is an evolving trade war. New tariffs we reported from the EU and Canada just today. I'm joined by former Governor and DNC Chair Howard Dean, who ran for president, and Randi Weingarten, who knows a thing or two about government, labor, and education, president of the American Federation of Teachers. Welcome to both of you. We will get to the education, but Governor Dean, I start with you on the market slump and a clear rejection of the opening month of this escalating trade war. Your thoughts?
Look, trade wars are never good for anybody. Every country in the world except us seems to believe that. And he's going to raise prices for ordinary Americans, and the prices are already going to go up very, very shortly simply by raising the cost of steel coming into the country. You know, this guy, I know he went to Wharton, but he must have skipped a few courses. I mean, you can't do this. You can't charge more and have the cost of the raw materials come in and be more, and then expect the cost of living to go down. It's going to go up. And that was the main reason that people voted for him, was to get the economy under control, and he's made it worse. Yeah.
And, Governor, things get so polarized that even words take on new meanings nowadays politically. So if someone is really deeply MAGA, they start to say tariffs good. And perhaps, although we don't have the measurements, some folks are now thinking every tariff is bad. There are precise and targeted tariffs. Tariffs have been part of course, international negotiations. So I wouldn't say it's automatically one thing or the other, but the kind of blanket escalating trade war tariffs has long been seen as negative in the orthodoxy. And so to just kind of remind us how this used to play out before sort of this MAGA level intensity, here was Reagan. Take a listen.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
Howard?
That's exactly where we're headed. What people hate, and investors hate, and consumers hate more than even tariffs and more than any other thing you could do, is uncertainty. And that's why the stock market's collapsing. If you want to invest in America or invest in your small business, you've got to think that you're going to make some money and be able to support your family. Trump has eroded that confidence, and the people around him have taken that confidence away. In fact, they're just mouthing platitudes for the most part, are no less true than anything, no more true than anything Trump has said for the past 7 years.
Randi, before we turn specifically to education, I did want to get your thoughts on all of this. You've interacted in your role with government for a long time, and you see that the markets clearly rejecting this.
Well, and look, you know, most people don't even think about it this way, but we have members all throughout the United States and workers all throughout the United States that are in pension plans.
Sure.
Whether it's, you know, defined benefit plans or 401k plans. And most of these plans these days are invested 70-30 in equities versus bonds. So everybody watches Wall Street and sees this kind of cycling down and saying, this is why we sent the letter to asset managers about Tesla. If we're so invested in this, what's going to happen to our retirements?
Sure.
So it's not, so, you know, Elon Musk might lose $10 billion. You know, if he has $200 billion, what's the difference? But if a worker who's about to retire, all of a sudden there's $100,000 less in their 401k because of this instability, that really matters.
Yeah.
So there's a short term really mattering as well as a long term. And the other thing I would say is, and look, I'm part of a movement that thinks that some tariffs are a good idea. Because if you're trying to compete American products with other products, some tariffs, very well done. Chris Luzio just did a great op-ed about that in the New York Times. But when you have this level of uncertainty, and it feels like it's bullying, like, think about it, Ari. Joe Biden did industrial policy to try to bring manufacturing back and brought manufacturing back. And we competed like China does using industrial policy. First, Donald Trump said he's doing tariffs to bring manufacturing back, and then he's doing tariffs to stop fentanyl. So there's not even a
No,
reason
there's no
for
consistent
it. There's no
reason.
consistency. There's no reason. But what we're seeing is that the inconsistency, the incoherence, the lack of predictability.
Yeah.
Everybody needs some stability. Yeah, we want to shake things up, but we need some stability in the markets and some stability to actually know what's going on.
Right.
Instead, it just feels, look, I'm not an economist, it just feels like this is a tool for a bully and that the bully is using this tool.
Right, and you say that tool, and Governor Dean, to build on Randy's point, you know, there's a famous saying in psychology that if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And Donald Trump likes executive orders, whether they pass or not. They can get canceled a couple weeks later in the courts, but he clearly likes that. Randy's reminding everyone he likes this. Tariffs are legitimately executive action. So, for example, I've told viewers about these cases. There are not a ton of court cases questioning the president's ability to do this. But the fact that you have the ability to do something, most presidents have never thought means you should always do that, be it an economic bomb or a real bomb. Take a look, Howard, at the public disapproval of Trump on the economy, which by its nature means a heck of a lot of people who voted for Trump already now disapprove of him in the economy, and it's the worst in the first term since first term. Your thoughts?
Well, actually, this is one of the reasons I think the Democrats in the Senate ought to turn down this ridiculous budget. It's packed with crap for his billionaire friends, and it takes money away from the people who need it. It takes money away from a lot of the people who voted for Trump. Trump doesn't give a damn about those people. I said that during the election. He's never given a damn about working people. He just wants to be president so he can have power. And he is really, I mean, the Republicans are really about to give the American people a screwing. And I hope the Democrats have the wherewithal and the spine to stand up tomorrow and say, no, we're not passing a budget that takes away money from people who need it. If you want to pass a budget, we'll sit down and negotiate with you, and we know we'll have to give some stuff up, and you'll have to give some stuff up. Right now, the Democrats are just lying down in front of the train and letting them run them over, and it's about time they stop that.
Interesting to get you on that. I'm sure people are interested in your take on that. Randy, I have about 1 minute left for you on this attack on education. I imagine you remember the oops moment. There's a long history of Republicans saying maybe gut the whole thing. Your response?
Look, what they did yesterday was cowardly. Have the fight with the 65% of Americans who believe we need to have an education department. Now, fact, education is done at the local level. State governments, state education departments, local school boards. That's who does education.
Sure.
And we believe that, and we want that. But this is what the Federal Department of Education does. It's the opportunity agent. It's the equalizer. So everything that it does, from the first moment that Johnson did the war on poverty to now, is about getting poor kids some money for like a reading specialist when you're trying to deal with literacy and helping a poor kid. Getting a kid who has a disability, occupational therapy or physical therapy. Getting a kid who's going to college and their parents can't afford it, a Pell Grant. Getting kids the kind of career tech ed, which I think every kid should have. I think every kid should have sports. I think every kid should have experiential learning. Getting them the equipment to do that. I can go on and on. So what it does is it levels the playing field so all kids can have opportunity, and that is what they are cutting. And when they cut half the people, it's like evisceration by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
So you want to do this? Have the fight with us in Congress. Let's make sure we get the issues out there. I'm so mad. I'm spitting mad about this because it's hurting the people who can't vote. Children don't vote. Let's not take away their opportunity. So symbolically, it's taking away children's opportunity, but more to the point, it's not efficiency, it's evisceration.
Yeah, and you've been a leader on this, as we mentioned, so appreciate getting you on that as well tonight. Randy and Howard, my thanks. Elon Musk is floating